Lieutenant Alex Morgan walked alongside Buddy, his golden retriever, through the gleaming corridor of the UNS Horizon. The dog's nails clicked softly against the metal floor, his tail wagging as crew members smiled at the pair. "Ready for the big meeting, boy?" Alex scratched behind Buddy's ears. As a combat veterinarian with the UN Space Forces, Alex had brought therapy animals into many tense situations, but this was different. This was humanity's first diplomatic contact with the Verax hegemony, an alliance of insectoid warriors who controlled 3 solar systems. Ambassador Laura Simmons approached them, her expression serious. "Lieutenant Morgan, are you sure bringing Buddy is wise? The Verax are not known for their warmth." "That's exactly why he's here, Mom. Nothing breaks tension like a friendly dog." Alex adjusted Buddy's service vest. Plus, he's been trained for space travel and unusual environments. Laura nodded reluctantly. "The Verax will arrive in 30 minutes. Remember, they value strength above all else." The meeting chamber was prepared with careful attention to detail. Earth's representatives stood nervously as the airlock hissed open. 6 tall insectoid aliens entered, their exoskeletons gleaming under the lights. Their compound eyes surveyed the room, mandibles clicking in what humans had learned was their form of communication. The largest Verax stepped forward. Standing nearly 8 feet tall, Commander Skathar's carapace was decorated with marks that intelligence suggested indicated battle honors. "Greetings, representatives of Earth," the alien's translator device buzzed. "The Verax hegemony acknowledges your species." Ambassador Simmons began the formal greeting when Buddy, sensing Alex's tension, pressed against his leg. The movement caught Skathar's attention immediately. "What is this creature you bring to diplomatic proceedings?" The commander's posture stiffened, compound eyes focusing on Buddy. "This is Buddy, a therapy dog," Alex explained. "He helps maintain emotional well-being during stressful situations." The Verax delegation's mandibles clicked rapidly. Their translator remained silent for several moments before Skathar spoke again. "You bring non-combat fauna to negotiations. Explain." Laura stepped in. "On Earth, we domesticated certain animals thousands of years ago. Dogs became not just workers but companions." The aliens' reaction was difficult to read, but their antennae twitched in what the human diplomatic team had been briefed might indicate confusion or surprise. "You control this beast, yet it serves no combat function," Skathar's translator conveyed. "He's not a beast," Alex said, perhaps too quickly. "He's trained to provide comfort and support." Skathar approached slowly. Buddy sat calmly, watching the giant insect with curiosity rather than fear. The commander loomed over the dog, studying him intensely. "In the Verax hegemony, all life forms serve a purpose. What purpose does this dog serve in battle?" Before anyone could answer, Buddy yawned widely, showing his teeth before settling down at Alex's feet with a contented sigh. The reaction from the Verax was immediate. They stepped back, postures becoming rigid. Their clicking communications increased in volume and speed. "You dare to display your biological weapon so openly?" Skathar's translator crackled with what seemed like indignation. "Weapon?" Laura looked bewildered. "No, you misunderstand. We observed the display of teeth. The creature's relaxed posture is clearly a demonstration of its confidence in its killing ability." Skathar's upper limbs moved in what intelligence suggested was a gesture of respect, an impressive psychological tactic, humans. Alex suppressed a smile. "Sir," Buddy was just yawning. "He's actually very gentle." "Your attempts at deception are unnecessary," Skathar replied. "We recognize the value of appearing harmless until the moment to strike arrives." The commander turned to his delegation. "The humans are more cunning than our intelligence suggested. They bring beasts that appear docile, but clearly can be unleashed upon enemies." Ambassador Simmons tried to correct the misunderstanding, but the Verax seemed oddly more respectful after their incorrect conclusion. As the diplomatic meeting continued, Buddy dozed peacefully, unaware that the galaxy's most feared warrior species now believed he was a deadly weapon that humans had masterfully disguised as a fluffy companion. Alex watched with growing amusement as 3 Verax scientists circled Buddy, taking readings with handheld devices. The golden retriever sat patiently, his tail sweeping the floor whenever one of the aliens came close. "Ambassador, they're treating my therapy dog like he's some kind of biological superweapon," Alex whispered to Laura Simmons. "Let them," she replied quietly. "We've been trying to get the Verax to respect us for weeks. If they think we have battle dogs, I'm not going to correct them just yet." The diplomatic meeting had moved to a larger chamber aboard the USS Horizon. Commander Scathar stood with his mandibles clicking as he observed Buddy. "Lieutenant Morgan," the commander's translator buzzed, "we request a demonstration of your beast's capabilities." Alex shrugged. "Sure. What would you like to see?" "Combat protocols," Scathar replied immediately. "Well, he knows a few commands." Alex turned to Buddy. "Sit." Buddy sat immediately, his eyes focused on Alex. The Verax delegation's clicking increased dramatically. "Impressive response time," one of the scientists noted. "The beast submits to vocal command patterns without hesitation." "Stay," Alex commanded. Buddy remained perfectly still. "Now watch this." Alex pulled a tennis ball from his pocket. "Buddy, fetch." He tossed the ball across the room. Buddy bounded after it, snatched it in his mouth, and brought it back to Alex, dropping it at his feet. The reaction from the Verax was immediate. They stepped back, their postures becoming rigid in what humans had learned was a sign of respect, or possibly alarm. "The retrieval speed is remarkable," Scathar said, "and it willingly returns the projectile for reuse. Efficient." Alex bit his lip to keep from laughing. He also knows shake. He held out his hand, and Buddy raised his paw, placing it in Alex's palm. The Verax scientists hurriedly recorded this interaction. One of them approached Laura. "Your combat veterinarian has remarkable control over this beast. Does each human soldier bond with their own war dog?" Laura maintained her diplomatic composure. "Not every soldier, no. Lieutenant Morgan has specialized training." Crew member Olivia Parker entered the room with lunch for the human delegation. Buddy's ears perked up, and he trotted over to greet her. Olivia knelt down, letting Buddy lick her face while she ruffled his fur. "The beast shows affection to all members of your crew?" Scathar asked, clearly puzzled. "Buddy is trained to recognize friends," Alex explained, unable to resist the opportunity. "He can distinguish between allies and threats." This statement caused a flurry of clicking among the Verax. "A biological security system that integrates with your social structure," one scientist noted. "Ingenious." During the lunch break, Buddy performed his most dangerous act yet. He rolled onto his back, exposing his belly for Olivia to rub. "What is this maneuver?" Scathar demanded, stepping closer. "A trust exercise," Alex improvised. "It demonstrates the strong bond between humans and their companions. So the beast makes itself vulnerable to strengthen group cohesion." Scathar's translator buzzed thoughtfully. "Your species continues to surprise us, Lieutenant Morgan." Later, when Buddy dozed off during technical negotiations, the Verax became even more impressed. "It conserves energy while remaining alert," a scientist observed as Buddy's ears twitched in his sleep, a perfect adaptation for long campaigns. By the end of the day, Alex found Commander Scathar studying Buddy's service vest with great interest. These markings, the commander indicated the patches on the vest. They denote the beast's rank and battle accomplishments. Alex glanced at the simple therapy dog certification patches. "Something like that, yes." Scathar's mandibles clicked slowly. "We have underestimated your species, humans. Any civilization that can form such tactical bonds with other creatures must possess depths we have not yet fathomed." As they left the meeting chamber, Laura whispered to Alex, I think we just improved human-Verax relations because they think we have combat pets. Alex patted Buddy's head. Good boy. You just became the galaxy's most feared therapy dog. The diplomatic meeting on day 3 had been going better than expected. The Verax delegation seemed increasingly respectful toward the humans, particularly toward Buddy, whom they continued to study with fascination. Alex had just demonstrated how Buddy could find hidden objects by scent, which the Verax interpreted as advanced enemy detection capabilities. The beast's olfactory warfare systems are most impressive, Commander Scathar noted as Buddy successfully located a treat Alex had hidden under a chair. The ship's alarm suddenly blared, cutting through the diplomatic atmosphere. All personnel to emergency stations. Unknown vessels approaching. This is not a drill. Ambassador Simmons' communicator chimed. She answered quickly, her expression growing grim. Sorlac ships, she announced to the room. 3 cruisers, approaching fast. The Verax reacted immediately, their postures becoming rigid. The Sorlac combine. Scathar's translator buzzed with a tone that somehow conveyed disgust. Our long-standing enemies. This is not coincidence. The ship shuddered as something struck the hull. They're firing on a diplomatic vessel. Lore exclaimed. That violates every interstellar convention. The Sorlac respect no conventions, Scathar replied. We must evacuate immediately. Our battleship stands ready. Chaos erupted as crew members rushed to emergency positions. Alex secured Buddy's vest and grabbed his medical kit. Lieutenant Morgan. Captain Greg Foster's voice came through his communicator. Report to Evacuation Zone C with your therapy animal. Several crew members are panicking. On my way, sir. Alex replied, tugging gently on Buddy's leash. Come on, boy. They hurried through corridors filled with rushing personnel. Buddy remained calm despite the alarms and commotion, a testament to his training. They had almost reached Evacuation Zone C when another blast rocked the ship violently. The impact threw Alex against a wall. Pain shot through his shoulder as emergency bulkheads began closing throughout the section. Buddy, stay. Alex commanded as he struggled to his feet. The dog obediently froze in place. Before Alex could reach him, another explosion knocked him off his feet. When he looked up, a bulkhead had sealed the corridor between them. Buddy. Alex shouted, pressing against the metal barrier. Through the small window, he could see his dog sitting exactly where commanded, looking confused and frightened. Alex's communicator crackled. Lieutenant Morgan, evacuate immediately. That section is losing pressure. My dog is trapped on the other side of bulkhead 47C. Alex reported desperately. We can't override the emergency protocols. Get to the escape pods now. Alex hesitated, then pressed his palm against the window. Buddy, break. Find help. Buddy barked once, then turned and ran down the corridor, disappearing from view. Minutes later, Alex found himself aboard an escape pod with 5 other crew members. Through the viewport, he watched as the UNS Horizon listed to one side, emergency lights flashing across its hull. The Verax battleship loomed nearby, its imposing silhouette bristling with weapons now firing at the attacking Sorlac vessels. Escape pods were being collected by both human shuttles and Verax retrieval craft. Alex's pod was pulled into the Verax ship's hangar bay. As the doors opened, he rushed out, frantically scanning for any sign of other pods or shuttles that might have rescued Buddy. Commander Scathar approached, his tall form towering over the humans. Lieutenant Morgan, your delegation is accounted for aboard our vessel. Not all of us, Alex said, his voice tight. My partner was separated during evacuation. Did any of your retrieval teams find a golden retriever? The therapy dog. Scathar's compound eyes seemed to study Alex carefully. The beast was not reported among the rescued. What Alex didn't know was that Commander Scathar had personally found Buddy wandering a damaged section of the human ship during the evacuation. Believing this was a perfect opportunity to study the biological weapon more closely, the Verax commander had secretly brought the dog aboard and secured him in his private quarters. "We will continue search efforts," Scathar assured Alex, his mandibles clicking in what might have been anticipation rather than concern. "Your battle beast is too valuable to lose." Commander Scathar stood alone in his private chambers aboard the Verax battleship, staring at Buddy. The golden retriever sat calmly on the metal floor, head tilted slightly as he watched the tall insectoid alien. "Now, beast, we shall see your true capabilities," Scathar's translator buzzed. He had disabled the ship's internal monitoring systems to ensure his private study remained undetected by both his crew and the human refugees. Buddy wagged his tail hopefully. Scathar consulted the notes he had taken during Lieutenant Morgan's demonstrations. "Activate combat protocol." "Sit." Buddy sat. "Excellent." The commander's mandibles clicked with satisfaction. "Now, activate stealth mode." "Stay." Buddy remained perfectly still, watching Scathar with curious brown eyes. The commander circled the dog slowly. "Your obedience is impressive. Now show me your attack capabilities." He pointed to a cushioned bench across the room. "Fetch." Buddy looked at the bench, then back at Scathar, his tail wagging faster but otherwise not moving. "You require a projectile," Scathar realized. He picked up a small ornamental sphere from his desk and tossed it awkwardly. "Fetch." Buddy bounded after the sphere, picked it up in his mouth, and brought it back to Scathar, dropping it at his feet with a soft bark. "Remarkable retrieval efficiency," the commander noted, making another entry in his datapad. "But I have yet to witness your true combat potential." Scathar tried several other commands he had heard Lieutenant Morgan use, including rollover and paw, which Buddy performed perfectly. Yet the commander grew increasingly frustrated at his inability to activate what he believed were the dog's hidden combat functions. "Lieutenant Morgan clearly used code words I have not yet deciphered," he muttered to himself. Meanwhile, in the ship's main diplomatic chamber, Alex was growing desperate. "It's been 6 hours since the attack," he told Ambassador Simmons. "Buddy could be injured or trapped in a damaged section of the horizon." "The Verax have allowed our teams to search the wreckage," Laura replied gently. "If Buddy is there, they'll find him. He's trained for emergency situations. He should have found a way to an escape pod." Alex ran his hand through his hair. "Something doesn't add up." Back in the commander's chambers, Scathar was attempting a new approach. He dimmed the lights and made threatening gestures toward the dog. "Defend yourself. Show me your fighting capabilities." Buddy, interpreting this as a game, playfully barked and wagged his tail faster, dropping into a play bow with his front paws extended. "Is this a pre-attack stance?" Scathar wondered aloud, making more notes. Fascinating. When the commander attempted to touch Buddy, the dog licked his chitinous hand. Scathar jerked back in surprise. "A chemical analysis," he concluded, misinterpreting the friendly gesture. "The beast samples its potential enemies." After several more hours of failed attempts to witness Buddy's true nature, Scathar reluctantly provided the dog with water and some protein cubes, which Buddy sniffed but didn't eat. "You are resilient," the commander noted with growing respect. "Your loyalty to Lieutenant Morgan prevents you from revealing your abilities to me." A communication alert interrupted his experiments. The ship's second-in-command requested his presence on the bridge. "I shall return," Scathar told Buddy. "Perhaps hunger will make you more cooperative." As the commander left, Buddy circled the room, sniffing curiously at the strange environment. Finding nothing edible, he jumped onto the commander's sleeping platform, turned around 3 times, and settled down with a sigh. On the bridge, Scathar learned that a Xorlac vessel had been detected following their battle group. "They are being persistent this time," his second-in-command reported. "Double security throughout the ship," Scathar ordered. "The humans and their technology must be protected at all costs." Little did he know that his private study of Earth's secret weapon was about to be interrupted by the very enemy he sought to defeat. The Verax battleship shuddered as the first Thorlak boarding vessel attached itself to the outer hull. Warning sirens blared throughout the ship, their high-pitched wail alerting everyone to the imminent danger. In his quarters, Commander Skthar grabbed his ceremonial battle staff. Years of combat experience told him this was no ordinary raid. The Xorlak were known for precision strikes, targeting leadership to create chaos. "Computer, secure chamber," he ordered, moving toward the door. He glanced at Buddy, who was now alert, ears perked up at the sound of alarms. "Remain here, beast. Your human would not forgive me if harm came to you." Buddy watched as the tall insectoid commander left the room, the door sealing behind him. In the diplomatic section of the ship, Alex heard the alarms and felt the ship rock beneath his feet. "What's happening?" he asked the Verax guard assigned to the human delegates. "Sorlak boarding party," the guard's translator buzzed. "They seek something specific, likely your diplomatic information." Ambassador Simmons gathered the human staff. "Everyone stay together. The Verax will handle this." "I need to find Buddy," Alex insisted. "If there's fighting, he could be in danger somewhere on this ship." "Lieutenant Morgan, I cannot allow," Laura began, but Alex was already moving toward the door. "I'm a combat vet, Ambassador. I can help the Verax and look for Buddy at the same time." Before she could protest further, the ship rocked again with a more violent impact. The lights flickered, then dimmed to emergency levels. Commander Skthar moved swiftly through the corridors, coordinating defense teams through his communicator. The Xorlak, reptilian aliens known for their stealth and ruthlessness, had breached 3 sections of the ship. "Secure the engine room and weapons systems," he ordered. "They must not." A massive explosion cut him off, throwing him against the wall. Pain shot through his body as a piece of metal sliced into his leg. Green fluid, Verax blood, began pooling beneath him. He tried to stand but collapsed. His communicator had been damaged in the blast. He was alone, injured, and cut off from his troops. The sound of clawed feet on metal echoed from around the corner. Xorlak scouts. They would find him soon, and a wounded commander was a perfect target for capture or execution. In Skathar's quarters, Buddy's ears twitched at the sound of the explosion. He whined, pawing at the door. Years of training as a therapy animal had taught him to recognize distress, even in species very different from humans. The door, damaged by the ship-wide power fluctuation following the explosion, slid open just enough for Buddy to squeeze through. The golden retriever sniffed the air, his keen senses detecting the unfamiliar scent of Verax blood. Following his instincts, Buddy trotted through the dimly lit corridors, navigating around debris and past scurrying Verax crew members too busy with emergency duties to notice the Earth animal. Commander Skthar had dragged himself into a small maintenance alcove, clutching his wounded leg. He could hear the Xorlak search party getting closer, their hissing communications just around the corner. Suddenly, something warm pressed against his side. He turned, startled to find Buddy sitting beside him, brown eyes fixed on his face. "Beast," Skthar whispered, "you should not be here." Buddy whined softly, then pressed his body closer to the injured commander, a behavior he had been trained to provide to wounded or distressed humans. The Xorlak voices grew louder. Skthar tensed, knowing discovery was imminent. He had no weapons beyond his ceremonial staff, which would do little against armed Xorlak troops. 3 Xorlak scouts turned the corner, their scaled bodies gleaming in the emergency lights. They spotted the wounded commander immediately, yellow eyes narrowing with satisfaction. The commander, alone and wounded, one hissed in their language. "Perfect." Buddy's demeanor changed instantly. The friendly therapy dog rose to his feet, placing himself between Skthar and the advancing Xorlak. His lips pulled back, revealing sharp teeth as a deep, threatening growl rumbled from his chest. The Xorlak hesitated, confused by this unknown creature's protective stance. Then Buddy barked, loud, fierce, and echoing through the corridor. The sound reverberated like a battle cry. The Sorlak scouts froze, startled by Buddy's fierce barking. The golden retriever stood firmly between them and the wounded Commander Scathar, his normally friendly demeanor transformed into a protective stance. "What is this creature?" one of the Sorlak hissed, raising its weapon uncertainly. Buddy's barking continued, echoing through the metal corridors. The sound traveled far beyond the immediate area, alerting nearby Varak's security teams to something unusual. Commander Scathar watched in astonishment as the dog he had been studying as a weapon actually became one, not through violence, but through loyal protection. "The beast defends me," he whispered, his translator barely picking up his weakened voice. The lead Sorlak scout took a step forward, weapon aimed. Buddy's barking intensified, his teeth bared in warning. "Eliminate it," the scout ordered, "then capture the commander." Before they could fire, heavy footsteps thundered down the corridor. A squad of Varak's warriors appeared. Drawn by Buddy's alarm, the Sorlak scouts turned to face this new threat, momentarily forgetting about the dog and injured commander. It was the distraction Buddy needed. He lunged forward, not to attack, but to grab the nearest Sorlak's weapon strap. With a quick jerk of his head, he pulled the surprised alien off balance just as the Varaks opened fire. The brief firefight ended quickly, with the outnumbered Sorlak scouts retreating down a side passage. "Commander," the Varak security chief rushed to Scathar's side. "You are injured." "The beast," Scathar managed to say, pointing weakly at Buddy who had returned to his side. "It protected me. Alerted you." The security team looked at Buddy with new respect. The dog merely wagged his tail, returning to his normal friendly self now that the danger had passed. Elsewhere on the ship, Alex was desperately searching for Buddy. He had convinced a Varak's officer to give him access to the ship's security feeds, but there had been no sign of his dog. Lieutenant Morgan, a human communications officer, ran up to him. "The Varaks are reporting they found a small yellow beast protecting Commander Scathar from Sorlak scouts." Alex's heart leaped. "Where?" "Deck 7, Section C. They're taking the commander to medical." Alex was already running before she finished the sentence. When he reached the medical bay, he found it bustling with activity. Varak's medical officers worked to treat injuries from the Sorlak attack. In the center of the room, on the main treatment platform, lay Commander Scathar. And beside the platform, sitting calmly as if he belonged there, was Buddy. "Buddy," Alex called out. The dog's ears perked up immediately. He turned, saw Alex, and bounded toward him with joyful energy. Alex knelt down, wrapping his arms around his companion as Buddy licked his face enthusiastically. "I've been looking everywhere for you," Alex said, checking Buddy for injuries. "How did you end up here?" Commander Scathar raised himself slightly on the treatment platform. "Lieutenant Morgan," his translator buzzed, "your battle beast has proven its worth today." Alex approached the wounded commander, Buddy trotting beside him. "What happened?" "I was wounded during the Sorlak attack. Isolated. The beast found me and stood guard." Scathar's compound eyes seemed to study both Alex and Buddy with new understanding. "When the enemies approached, it gave warning and defended me until security arrived." Ambassador Simmons entered the medical bay, looking relieved to see both Alex and Buddy safe. She approached the commander's platform and bowed respectfully. "Commander, I'm pleased to see you're receiving treatment. I understand Lieutenant Morgan's therapy dog was involved in your rescue." "Therapy dog," Scathar repeated slowly. "You have used this term before, but I did not understand its meaning." He looked directly at Buddy. "This creature is not a weapon of war as we believed. It is something different." Alex nodded. "Buddy is trained to provide comfort and support to people in distress. He can sense when someone is injured or afraid. Even non-humans," Scathar noted. "Even those not of your world." For the first time, the Verax commander reached out a clawed hand toward Buddy, hesitating just above the dog's head. Alex nodded encouragingly, and Scathar gently touched Buddy's fur. "We have much to learn about each other, humans," the commander said. 3 weeks after the Xorlac attack, the newly repaired UNS Horizon hosted a formal ceremony. The ship's main gathering hall had been decorated with both human and Verax symbols, marking the historic alliance between the two species. Lieutenant Alex Morgan stood at attention, Buddy sitting perfectly beside him. The golden retriever wore his therapy dog vest, now adorned with an unusual addition, a small metal emblem bearing the mark of the Verax hegemony. Commander Scathar entered the hall, his tall form moving more slowly than before due to his healing injuries. The gathered diplomats, both human and Verax, bowed respectfully as he approached the central platform. "Today marks a new understanding between our peoples," Scathar's translator projected his words clearly. "For generations, the Verax have valued strength above all else. We believe that power came only from weapons, from technology, from the ability to conquer." The commander's compound eyes swept across the audience before settling on Alex and Buddy. "We were wrong," he continued. "The humans have shown us a different kind of strength, one based not on dominance but on connection." Ambassador Laura Simmons stepped forward. "The alliance between Earth and the Verax hegemony will benefit both our peoples. We have already begun sharing technology, cultural knowledge, and scientific discoveries." "And more," Scathar added. "Lieutenant Morgan, please approach with your companion." Alex walked forward, Buddy following obediently at his heel. They stopped before the commander, who now bore a ceremonial scar across his exoskeleton where he had been wounded. "This creature," Scathar gestured to Buddy, "represents what we fail to understand about humans. Your capacity for forming bonds with other species, for compassion without weakness, for loyalty without subjugation." The commander reached down, a significant gesture for the usually formal Verax, and gently placed his hand on Buddy's head. "The Verax hegemony has approved a new program," he announced. "We will establish a training center on our homeworld where humans will teach us about these therapy animals. Our warriors who suffer from battle stress will benefit from their companionship." A murmur of approval ran through the assembled diplomats. Alex couldn't help but smile as Buddy wagged his tail, completely at ease under the touch of an alien that would have seemed terrifying just weeks ago. "Lieutenant Morgan," Scathar continued, "has agreed to lead this program, bringing knowledge and animals from Earth to help our veterans." After the ceremony, Alex found himself in a quieter section of the ship, looking out at the stars through a large viewport. Buddy lay at his feet, contentedly chewing on a bone the ship's chef had saved for him. "He seems very happy," Ambassador Simmons said, joining Alex. "Hard to believe he was once the most feared weapon in Verax imagination." Alex laughed. "I still can't believe Scathar kept him hidden for study." "The commander's perspective has changed dramatically," Laura noted. "The entire Verax diplomatic approach has shifted since the incident." As if summoned by their conversation, Commander Scathar approached, his steps making a distinct clicking sound on the deck. "Lieutenant Morgan, may I join you?" "Of course, Commander." The tall insectoid settled beside them, his gaze following Alex's out to the stars. Buddy immediately rose and moved to sit closer to Scathar, a behavior that would have been unthinkable before their shared experience. "On my homeworld," Scathar said after a moment of silence, "we have small flying creatures that build intricate nests. For centuries, we saw them as nothing more than pests. It never occurred to us to study them, to understand them." He placed his hand gently on Buddy's back, the gesture becoming more natural with practice. "I wonder what else we have missed in our focus on warfare and conquest." Alex nodded. "That's the beauty of exploration. There's always something new to discover, some connection we never imagined possible." Buddy yawned and stretched, then settled comfortably between the human and the alien, a living bridge between two very different worlds. Outside the viewport, the stars continued their silent journey, witnesses to the beginning of what would become known throughout the galaxy as the Buddy Protocol, a diplomatic approach based not on threats or demonstrations of power, but on finding unexpected connections across the vast differences of space. Commander Scathar looked down at the peaceful dog and said quietly, "Not a beast of war after all, but something far more valuable, a beast of peace."